Flown by operators from the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, or Night Stalkers, the AH-6J Little Bird is a light attack helicopter designed to support special operations. The AH-6 was initiated in 1960 when the U.S. Army issued specifications for a light observation helicopter that could perform personnel transport, escort and attack missions, casualty evacuation, and observation. Hughes Tool Company's Aircraft Division submitted the Model 369. The first Model 369 prototype flew on February 27, 1963. 5 prototypes were built and delivered to the U.S. Army at Fort Rucker, Alabama, to compete against other prototype aircraft. In the end, Hughes won the competition, and the Army awarded a contract for production in May 1965. The initial order was for 714 aircraft, but that was later increased to 1,300 with an option to buy another 114. 70 helicopters were built in the first month. This agile, unarmed helicopter is outfitted with outboard benches designed to ferry up to 3 commandos on each side. Painted black for nighttime operations, this small aircraft can conduct rapid insertions and extractions of Special Operations Forces into areas where its larger brother, the MH-60 Blackhawk, cannot. The AH-6 helicopter thus became known to pilot and Special Ops forces as the Little Bird. In its most famous mission, AH-6 Little Birds were part of the initial assault near the Olympic Hotel in the Bakara market of Mogadishu, Somalia. The AH-6s conducted rooftop insertions of Delta Force soldiers. After an MH-60A call sign Super 61 was shot down by a rocket-propelled grenade, an AH-6 Little Bird, call sign Star 41, landed in the street next to the downed MH-60 and attempted to evacuate the casualties.
This is the OH-58D Kiowa Warrior. This is the cockpit, small cockpit. This is a Battletech coordinator, big Battletech coordinator. This is the infrared jammer. We call it the disco ball. This is the mast-mounted sight. You think you're gonna hide from this? It carries a serious weapon load. 2.75 rocket, the Hellfire missile, 50 caliber machine gun, Stinger air-to-air missiles.
The helicopter is an extraordinary piece of hardware. Versatile, fast, and maneuverable, it is able to get into and out of places that no fixed-wing aircraft could even contemplate. While the basics of helicopters have not varied much since Igor Sikorsky developed the first working model, the helicopter and its tasks have been evolving ever since. Today, there doesn't seem to be much that helicopters can't do, making them indispensable to the United States military. Hand in hand, mission and machine have changed together. Like anything else, technological helicopters have specialized. With each succeeding generation, new lessons have been learned, new job descriptions written. Over the years, 3 basic roles have evolved for helicopters: transport, attack, and scout. All helicopters, of course, perform more than one of these tasks, But increasingly, aircraft are fit for just a single mission. Given that helicopters have to provide for these missions on a variety of circumstances, it's no wonder that there are dozens of them in the military's inventory. For transport, the Army's mainstay is the UH-60's Black Hawk. This 5-ton-plus machine logged over 44,000 flight hours during Operation Desert Storm, primarily shuttling troops, equipment, and supplies where they needed to be.
It's a utility helicopter. It's probably the most versatile helicopter on the battlefield. It goes in the three realms of the battle, or in the Army we call it combat, combat support, combat service support. So we do many different jobs, from sling loading cargo to deep penetration, putting eyes behind enemy lines.
The second basic function of the helicopter is attack. Here, the AH-64 Apache excels. Resembling a praying mantis, it provides fire support to units in the field and takes out high-priority targets, particularly tanks.
Well, its mission is to find and attack massed armor elements, and that's the primary mission, but today's changing times, we're developing new tactics and doctrine all the time to face different threats.
Armed with a new generation of weapons, the Apache is virtually unstoppable. So the Army has a helicopter to transport its essential troops and equipment. A helicopter that attacks and kills. But which helicopter is assigned to the less glamorous mission of scouting and reconnaissance? In battle, information can mean the difference between life and death. A commander needs to know as much as he can. He needs to know where the enemy is, the direction he is traveling, and likely points of engagement. Scouts provide this information. Whether on land, sea, or air, scouting and recognizes is a fundamental military action. There is no better way to study the battlefield's big mission than from the air. For the Army, airborne scouting is done from the OH-58.
Generally, it's a scout aircraft used in the cavalry for scouting and reconnaissance to provide reaction time maneuver space to the commander.
Modified from the familiar civilian Bell 206 Jet Ranger, the Kiowa Scout was born during the Vietnam War. Originally rejected in favor of the OH-6 Loach, the Jet Ranger's civilian success earned the Kiowa a second look. In 1968, it started to replace the Loaches. The Kiowa had several strengths as a scout. First of all, it was small. It could hover along stream beds or hide behind trees, popping up for a look at the battlefield and then disappearing. That was important because the Kiowa's primary defense was its ability to move around the battlefield undetected. In its cockpit was a crew of 2, each one a fully qualified pilot.
The way things are set up in the cockpit, it's all ergonomically designed. We can keep our hands on the controls. The right seater doesn't have to take his hands off the controls to tune radios, to change different screen functions on the inside of the aircraft. The left seater is mainly a system operator. He looks for targets, operates the sighting system, operates all the navigational systems. So whereas the workload is increased, the overall division of attention is decreased.
While the small size of the Kiowa made for a cramped interior, its light weight made it an easy helicopter to transport. 2 OH-58s fit comfortably into the hold of a C-130 and could be offloaded and ready to fly in 10 minutes.
Okay, start the clock, and clock starts now. Okay, come on. Yeah, they're maneuvering back and forth.
Heave!
Sights up and going. Blades start turning now.
Yep.
9 minutes, 25 seconds, blades start turning. It'll be off in 1 minute, Jim. Coming up. We're up. Okay, 10 minutes, 25 seconds. You're looking real good, guys.
By the late 1970s, the Army needed a new way to safeguard its expensive new Apaches, born attackers that would be nearly helpless on the battlefield without their scouts. Under the extensive Army Helicopter Improvement Plan, or AHIP, Bell developed an upgrade for the Kiowa. It modified the OH-58 airframe with high-tech sensors and avionics that wouldn't be out of place in a jet fighter. The most crucial element in the upgrade, however, was not an obscure engineering change. It was instead the addition of the large, almost comical, mast-mounted sight. The MMS was an unwieldy, alien-looking addition to the craft. Its eyes peered out from above the rotor, bringing the battlefield into clear focus, day or night, rain or shine. The MMS was mounted high, so that the Kiowa could peek over tree and ridge lines, taking the enemy by surprise. The MMS ball was 65 centimeters in diameter and could freely rotate 360 degrees. Inside was a thermal imaging system that could detect targets at night and in extreme weather conditions. There was also a low-light television that enabled the crew to see better than they could with just their naked eyes.
The aircraft, with the mast-mounted sight, gives us the ability to detect out to possibly 10 kilometers based on terrain and weather situation. We can normally identify somewhere between 5-6 kilometers out. That has increased our capability over the old system that we had, which was the OH-58 Charlie and AH-1 Cobras.
Yeah, I got wires coming up 12 o'clock, right, left, right, I've got them in sight.
As the crew surveyed the area with the MMS, they reported back by voice radio to headquarters, to other aircraft, or to artillery fire units in the field. The MMS added another capability to the Kiowa as well. Inside the ball was a laser that provided two different functions. First, it was an incredibly accurate rangefinder that allowed the crew to pinpoint the exact location of targets. Second, as the battlefield grew more sophisticated, by painting a target with its coded laser, the Kiowa could direct missile and smart bomb fire, thereby increasing the helicopter's influence.
There's properly coded laser energy. What we can do is we can change the code of the laser. It's a 4-digit code, and it starts in a 1000 series and ranges all the way up to 1888. So you can pick a code. Your code is unique to that missile. The missiles are then coded to your code, so then it is only looking at your code and your laser beam.
The Kiowa also had defensive capabilities. Mounted high on the fuselage was a cylinder covered with mirrors that disorients enemy heat-seeking missiles.
We have the ANALQ-144, which is the infrared jammer. It's mounted aft on the aircraft, weighs about 30 pounds. It looks like a disco ball that you'd see in a club. How that works is when an infrared missile is fired at the aircraft, it disperses high-energy infrared energy away from the aircraft, confusing the missile and causing a miss.
The Kiowa, at long last, seemed ready to perform its mission as a scout. An accomplished specialist, it could wiggle its way deep behind enemy lines, find and accurately pinpoint enemy troop conformations, and even designate impact points for smart weapons. It could, in effect, direct the battle, guiding and manipulating other helicopters and even ground forces. But there was one thing it couldn't do: protect itself.
It's difficult at times because you're much more exposed than anybody else, and you have to rely on the close air-ground integration to be able to have the ground guys come up and support you in times of great need, and that can often get to be a problem because as you're working 6 to 3 to 6 kilometers in front of the ground troops, and depending on the enemy situation, if you have a team that goes down, then you have to try to push somebody forward to help secure them so that they don't fall into enemy hands.
It hardly seemed fair sending scouts out on a mission unarmed. After more than a decade of upgrades, the Kiowa had emerged as the world's best scout helicopter. Though the historic trend was toward specialization, the battlefield realities faced by the Kiowa dictated the addition of some capabilities not directly related to the finding and tracking the enemy. The Kiowa, if it was to survive, had to become a fighter. There were, of course, those who felt that the Kiowa had outlived its usefulness. The Bell Jet Ranger airframe, which had not been intended for military use in the first place, by the late 1980s was almost 2 decades old. A prime candidate for a replacement, but reality instead dictated an upgrade. Bell helicopter designers and the Army went back to the drawing board. What emerged from this process was the armed OH-58D, later designated the Kiowa Warrior. If the Apache is the heavyweight of the modern battlefield, then the Kiowa Warrior is the feisty Bantam. To augment its ability to move around stealthily, it got a quiet 4-bladed rotor and a nose redesigned to decrease the helicopter's radar cross-section. Its upgrade also included the capability to carry with it a mixture of weapons more familiar on the wings of the Apache. The Kiowa Warrior can carry 4 laser-guided Hellfire missiles, which can pierce the armor of any tank in the world from more than 3.5 miles away. For close-in combat, the Kiowa can be fitted with a 50 caliber machine gun or 2 pods, carrying a total of 14 2.75-inch rockets. Finally, in a lethal twist to make the Warrior as deadly to other helicopters as to tanks on the ground, the OH-58D got an air-to-air capability. Outfitted with up to 4 Stinger missiles, the Scout could kill other aircraft at a distance of up to 3 miles.
When you fire the weapon systems, every one of them feels a little different. The 50 caliber, for example, if you're in the left seat with the doors off and the muzzle is about 6 inches from your left leg, it feels like somebody's hitting you in the chest with a jackhammer. Because the helicopter is so light, everything rocks the aircraft, and you can feel it in the attitude every time you fire a weapon system off this. And it's always something new. You have to keep on your toes to maintain the proper alignment with your target every time you fire.
To give the pilots proper control of the weapons, the Kiowa Warrior is literally stuffed with electronics. The cockpit itself, while largely unchanged, has been fitted with the same kind of sighting gear more closely associated with attack helicopters.
What we have is, as I said before, it's an ODA. We can, unlike the Apache, change eyes. If one of our eyes gets tired, we can go ahead and switch eyes. And what that provides us is attitude, heading reference, altitude, airspeed. All our weapon symbology can come up on the ODA, as well as a VSI, vertical speed indicator.
Although the Kiowa Warrior cannot be fortified with all 4 of the weapon systems at one time, any combination of 2 can be mounted on the craft.
Well, the previous model OH-58 was just basically built to observe artillery rounds and to adjust them for artillery used in the mass-mounted sight. But the Kiowa Warrior, it's used in a cavalry role where it can actually go out and screen and guard the main body of the cavalry, and can actually engage the enemy if it comes upon the enemy with its weapon systems, where the other one couldn't.
While the MMS was designed to paint targets for other aircraft, the Kiowa Warrior can use the designator to choose its own targets. That, however, poses something of a dilemma for the aircraft's crew.
Normally, the OH-58 Kiowa Warrior is well forward of the battle. And being up close like that, by shooting a missile, all you're doing is sending a smoke trail right back to your aircraft. That's making you a very good target. By using the laser and using another shooter, the OH-58D Kiowa Warrior can maintain undetected and still lays targets.
Really, it's difficult at times to to maintain the scouting role when you have a light attack capability, because you have to train and discipline the pilots to maintain their scouting mission and not become decisively engaged with the enemy elements that are around, because you have the ability to attack and kill them.
The Kiowa Warrior is one of the most successful U.S. military aircraft programs ever. The helicopter has won the largest number of industry and government awards for customer satisfaction, engineering excellence, and combat performance in the field. But it is also a helicopter nearing the end of its useful lifespan. The armed OH-58D is so packed with equipment that it is within 75 pounds of its maximum takeoff weight. Simply put, there's no more room for upgrades. The Kiowa, however, will not disappear. The Army will likely keep dozens around, and hundreds will remain in the National Guard inventory. The Army recently ordered 157 specially modified Jet Ranger trainers for its helicopter school at Fort Rucker, Alabama. This assures that another generation of pilots, attack, transport, and scout will come to know and love the Kiowa.
I think the greatest thing about being a helicopter pilot is the view you get from your office every day when you go to work. There's a lot of an exhilaration and the rush to it. It's difficult to try to communicate to people about what you feel and the things that happen in an aircraft that don't have the opportunity to fly very often. And I feel fortunate every day that I get the opportunity to do my job that I have and to be able to go out and execute it. It's just a rush. It's high speed, there's something new, and there's something exciting happening every time you go fly that's something totally new.